This is the City Council workshop for June 4, 2025. City Clerk, would you do the roll call, please?
Councilmember Sell.
Here.
Councilmember Papalardo.
Here.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Here.
Mayor Chazet.
Here.
Vice Mayor Butlin.
Here. Okay. This evening we have a portion of Volume 1 of the City of DeBarry's 2025 Comprehensive Plan. So, Mr. Bapp.
Thank you very much. Stephen Bapp, Growth Management Director, City of DeBarry. Tonight is our third workshop in a series that will continue throughout the summer. Tonight we are still focusing on data and analysis. This workshop will not include policy focus, but merely data and analysis on the remaining topics of the comprehensive plan. The remaining topics which are not covered in meeting 1 and meeting 2 are on the screen. Transportation, public facilities, recreation, school facilities, capital improvements, and intergovernmental coordination. First on the docket is going over data and analysis on transportation. This section will include a lot of maps, perhaps not clearly visible on your screens, but they're a little better once they're in printed material. The map you see will be part of the comprehensive plan submittal, which is map 21, a required map showing our transportation network. And this map breaks down kind of our array of streets we have. You see the light blue color are our local streets managed by the city. Our red streets are managed by HOAs or private organizations. The black you see bisecting the cities is US 1, and there are a few county.
I think it'd be 1792.
Excuse me, yes, 1792. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I said US 1. My mistake. Wrong city. And then the orange color you see is Dirksen, and then some small portions of Enterprise.
And a small portion of Saxon.
A very small portion of
Yeah.
Saxon too. Yes, ma'am. Roadway classifications, these are used by the Department of Transportation to classify how much traffic is moved on a certain periods of time. Arterials are major roads like 1792. Collectors are roads like High Banks, Shaw Road, and they're shown on the map. 1792 or Charles R. Beale Boulevard is shown in red. The minor collectors minor arterials are yellow, and then the local streets for local circulation are shown in green. I think we're all pretty familiar with the traffic array and patterns in the city. Currently, here's where our cities are operating. These are not our goals, objectives, and policies levels, but where we're currently operating. We range from a B to a D on most city streets, but again, not our established levels of service, just where the current conditions are over the past 6 months. Who coordinates cities? The city's roads? Well, there's multiple jurisdictions, which can be a bit confusing to residents and people who aren't delved in this every day. We have the state of Florida involved in our transportation network, Volusia County, the city itself, and then we have private entities like Orlandia Heights or some of the subdivisions we have throughout the cities. Also, how this is coordinated and synchronized. It's coordinated through the Flagler Volusia Transportation Planning Organization. This was formerly, until this year, known as the River to Sea TPO, which I believe all members of the council are familiar with. And what the TPO does, it reviews proposals and programming for funding of facilities to ensure consistency with the adopted long-range transportation plan. It's just not these county entities and the city involved, but it's all the municipalities in Volusia and a large portion of Flagler County that all sit on the council and vote on our long-range transportation vision and objectives. Local streets, that's the city itself. We maintain and have jurisdiction over these streets. They're not maintained or touched by the county or by the state. Most of the streets we have are in good circulation and adequately meet the standards of traffic circulation. We know some streets remain affected by drainage problems as a result of some minimal stormwater infrastructure. And what would transportation be without a chart? The chart shows the projected levels of service for 2035, which is a 10-year window, and 2045. Everything from I-4 down to our urban minor collectors, such as Shaw Road, Port Florida, Donald E. Smith, etc. The source of this is Volusia County, and then where there were some gaps, we did some staff analysis on where those levels of service would be. Daily volume and service conditions. Critical and near critical means the traffic doesn't move very well. So we do have some near critical times on 1792, and we have some critical times, as everyone knows who lives in Central Florida, along I-4. Also, the city 3 years ago adopted an ordinance authorizing golf carts to be used upon certain roads. We are a very strong golf cart community. And as a reflection of that, we have 528 golf cart permits, which have been issued since 2022. We're also a bicycle city, so we've included much of our bicycle analysis into the new comprehensive plan. And we have different levels of metrics that bicycle levels use. They call it bicycle levels of traffic stress, which is sort of like level of service for an automobile, but it's applied to a bicycle and its ease of operation without the fear of injury from other vehicles. We do know in its current condition, US 1792 fares poorly because of its high speed limit in certain areas of the city and no delineation or separation between the bicyclists and motorists. We have identified this as something to correct. County roads sort of run the same. As you see, they're a high volume road without much separation. But we do have a good bicycle. We have 3 state trails cutting through our city, which does alleviate some of that. But for local bikes, there are some problems due to these intermixing of traffic types. City trails, we do have a city plan for trails in the city. The green, as you see indicated, incorporate trails into some state trails, but also flexes out on those established trails. The yellow trails is part of our capital improvement project and long-range plan, showing how the trail network will be further expanded to join communities together and join communities so they can use the statewide trail system. Walkability is something new that's not reflected in the current comprehensive plan, but it is a very modern or more focused item. The indications on the chart, if it's a blue road shown, it has a low level of stress. A red road has a higher level of stress. And some of these will be stress levels and walkability factors will be increased and helped with the establishment of trails which people can move on throughout the city. Public transportation, really we have one spur line that cuts through the middle of the city. Doesn't fan out to the neighborhoods, but it goes through Charles R. Beale Boulevard, connects to Volusia Boulevard, also known as 1792, with multiple bus stops currently existing. And as new developments come in, there will be bus stops to service the persons who use that type of public transportation. We're also blessed with a Sunrail station in the south part of our city, which now extends to the city of DeLand and will extend points even further than it does now. When the comprehensive plan was last written, we were at the end of the line to the northern route of the Sunrail station. Long-range projects, we're going to include the FDOT's long-range project plan, which may include implementation of additional turn lanes on Dirksen Road, which is a county long-range project. Some managed turn lanes, managed intersections, some resurfacing, and some reconstruction of certain roads, and that will be included in the report. After we do our after the transportation analysis, we looked at public facilities. These are things owned by the city or corresponding adjacent jurisdictions. One thing we don't have our own potable water service that is managed by Volusia County, but we are very well coordinated with the county. The yellow you see that pops on the map, those are areas that are already serviced by the Volusia County water distribution system. The green areas, which are the older parts of our city and the central part of our city, are serviced by wells. And there are some properties that very few, one or two, that we don't have current data on or know how, if it's being serviced by public or by a well, but there are only a few of those. The potable water systems in DeBary, as I stated, managed by Volusia County Utilities, with the exception of two things. One, as I mentioned, individual wells, and then there's the segment of DeBary, which is an older subdivision on the east side of I-4 along Dirksen Road. Once Dirksen Road transitions I-4, there's a small part of the city that's served by the Deltona Public Works. I believe there's approximately 50 to 60 individual homes serviced by that organization. The future development of our potable water systems was looked at. We do plan for adequate potable water supply because we know that's important to growth management. And there is policy stating that all development within a quarter mile of an existing potable water facility shall connect to the SID facility. Also, we've incorporated and looked at aspects and do coordinate with the Gemini Springs Septic to Sewer Master Plan, and that is currently being designed by the Volusia County Utilities. I believe everyone's quite familiar with that program. It's been going for a few years now. Also, all our potable water comes from groundwater, of course. It doesn't come out, it's welled out of the water. We know that there's some deterioration of the water supply due to infiltration of salt salt intrusion resulting from overpumping. And the findings from the Water Management District indicate that attention should be given to encourage the efficiency of the use of water, of course. And we do have, we do have water well systems throughout the city. You see there's a lot in the north part of our city. You see looks on the map, you can see some scattered in the north portion of our city in a dark blue parcel indicator, and then there's a few along like the Dirksen Road area in the south quadrant of the city, but most in the north in our jurisdictional area that borders Orange City. Sanitary sewer service, again, is reflected on the screen. On the red or very red system is private septic, and then the central sewer system is indicated in the yellow. The Southwest Regional Water Reclamation Facility is under construction now, and its expanded capacity to 4.5 million gallons per day. The existing facility is relatively new and will be useful life beyond the 20-year planning period. And the city of Deltona, that serves that small portion of the city southeast of I-4, is planned to continue that service. And again, as I stated, Volusia County Utilities is working on the master plan to convert certain neighborhoods from individual septic to a central sewer. Stormwater management system improvements. Some older parts of the city are served by drainage facilities, which sometimes are inadequate during extreme storm events. And the city, in counter to that, has undertaken a multitude number of stormwater management projects, which I believe you're all familiar with, to improve the system performance of this complex system. Solid waste. Solid waste management states that it averages 49 pounds per home per week, and we do have the capacity to keep up with what's currently there and what's projected through our growth system. And the Volusia County, I don't know, but they are building a new 271-acre Class 1 landfill adjacent to the existing landfill to serve the expanding needs of Southwest Volusia. Also important to analyze is recreation. Regional parks, not owned by the city, but used by many residents and are very near the city. As you know, Gemini Springs, Lake Monroe, and the Blue Springs and Hooten Islands. Pontoon Islands. I've been there many times, I just mispronounced it. Local parks, we have many local parks. The recent purchase and acquisition is Alexander Island, and the other ones are listed on the chart to your front. We also have private recreational facilities, primarily focused on golf at the DeBerry Golf and Country Club, and also the Glen Abbey Country Club also provides golf recreational facilities. I'll address schools later also, but Volusia County Schools is in the process of evaluating the properties for a new elementary school in the vicinity of DeBerry or Orange City. The specific site has not been determined, but this could lead to additional recreational opportunities for the city. Other additional opportunities, the Volusia County Spring to Spring Trail and Alexander Island, which I mentioned earlier, will be up and running within the 20-year planning window. Also, there are some other cultural facilities listed on the screen. I mean, we have the Florence K. Little Hall right next to this building, things like the VFW Moose Club, many churches, a library, we have DeBerry Hall, many places to experience and execute cultural events. If we look at the array of our cultural facilities as found on the screen, we are a city that is very has really tied into biking, really tied into recreation. Ecotourism is a thing which will become more prevalent in the city, especially with the expansion of Alexander Island, shown on the southwest map area. What the state does, they have certain levels of service which need to be maintained. Our existing level of service standard for parks is 4 acres per 1,000 residents. Analyzing the park space available, we have 17.39 acres of parkland per 1,000, over 4 times the amount of parks spaces beyond the requisite standard. We have open space. We still have many areas of open space, primarily which are environmentally sensitive areas, and they will remain environmentally sensitive and available as open space to the public or for observation purposes. School facilities, we also looked at school facilities as part of the comprehensive plan. We do know that they're a vital part of any functional society and often the cornerstone of communities. On July 1st, 2007, the city entered into an amended interlocal agreement with the Volusia County Public Schools. That's some background going into the situation, and DeBerry at this time has 1 public school located on High Banks Road called DeBerry Elementary. What our comprehensive plan states is that schools can be permitted in any land use classification pending a determination of consistency from the City Council. And using criteria of that 2007 agreement, the jurisdictions will evaluate consistency with the comprehensive plan, environmental concerns, health, safety, and welfare of the community, and effects on adjacent property. On July 3rd, 2024, almost a year ago today, or 11 months ago today, the City Council approved the location of a new K-8 public schools facility at 25 Buckley Drive. On January 15th of this year, the City Council held a determination of consistency meeting on another proposed school, a K-8 school at the Spring Vista Drive, and using the criteria I mentioned on the earlier screen, found it inconsistent with the comprehensive plan and how it negatively impacted surrounding properties. The Volusia County School Board did not submit an appeal to this decision, which is the process according to 163.3215 of the Florida statutes, and thus the City Council's determined decision is final as per Florida law and Florida statute. Other facilities we have serving the educational needs of our youth, we have the High Banks Learning Facility, and we have the Reading Edge Academy, both located within the city of DeBerry and attended by many DeBerry children. The map layout, you see the 3 white circles with the school symbol in the middle of is the location of the DeBerry Elementary and the two private facilities which I mentioned. Capital improvements, which are long-range durable sites. Within the comprehensive plan, we have several tables. We have Table 46 of Volume 1, which provides a list of capital improvement projects from 2010 to 2008. And then Table 47 provides the capital improvements adopted in the 2019 five-year capital improvement plan. 2019 was the last time the capital city updated its plan. So it is time to update that CIP as part of the evaluation and appraisal report process. There are many tenets of the capital improvement finance practices. I won't read them, but it all maintains down to fiscal management and fiscal responsibility. Also ties to revenue and expenditures, and we have that currently existing, and this language currently existing in the comprehensive plan. But it's just time to update and refresh the list. Not that we're not doing capital improvements, it's just not codified in the new five-year plan. So in preparation of the annual update, the CIP, and adopting the capital budget, the city will conform these policies listed on the screen. All deals with method of payment for this, and also goes into the fiscal responsibility of not incurring debt, etc. Intergovernmental coordination, work with other agencies. We have a very active intergovernmental coordination apparatus in the city. We coordinate with local governments, on a daily basis throughout the staff, including Orange City, Deltona, Sanford, Volusia County, and also we coordinate quite frequently with other counties, Seminole Lake, and even Flagler County through our TPO. Beside the governmental agencies, or the governments themselves, we have regional agencies, probably have more than what's listed on the screen too. We have the East Central Florida Regional Planning Council, the St. John Rivers, Volusia County Public Schools, the Sheriff's Office, the Council of Governments, the Volusia County Growth Management Commission, and many more. State agencies which we coordinate with, probably on a daily or if not weekly, if not daily basis, is the Department of Transportation with its regional office located right up the street in D-Land. The DEP, which we, as Growth Management, I know coordinate with almost daily. The Game and Freshwater Fish Commission, and the Department of Commerce, all of which staff interacts with and leadership interacts with almost daily. Federal agencies, we do interact with these, and we have a close relationship with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, especially being located along the St. Johns River, and also being located in the state of Florida. We have a working relationship with the Federal Emergency Management Agency. As agencies work together, like people, like families, there is conflict which arises, but all our mechanisms we have for coordination has a method for any kind of recourse or conflict resolution. We have things such as the Volusia County Growth Management Commission, the Council of Governments, the Regional Planning Council, and the Florida Conflict Resolution Consortium, and many other mechanisms. So all coordination we have has a mechanism for conflict resolution. So what are we doing next as a staff for the City Council and for the residents and the citizens of the city? We're tentatively scheduling our next workshop for the 18th of June, which will include the first discussion on Volume 2, which are goals, objectives, and policies. I think what we can bring forward at that time in 2 weeks are some policies due to many recent changes in Florida law and some of the changes in the last 5 years. We're going to bring forward our general provisions of the plan for the policies, the city's vision, and also the property rights element. That is the data and analysis for the remaining part of our Volume 1 of our comprehensive plan. I'll be glad to answer your questions or as you so desire.
City Clerk, do we have any public participation?
Just the one item, ma'am.
Okay. Yvette Best, would you come to the podium?
Thank you for the opportunity, Volusia County Council members. My name is Yvette Best, and I live in Orlandia Heights. I'm here as a representative and advocate for our community's children and their future. The city's battle with the Volusia County school system is most concerning. I would urge this council to take immediate cooperative action with the school board to build a new school in DeBary. Our city is growing, families are moving in, neighborhoods are expanding, and the demand for an educational infrastructure is increasing every year. Yet despite this undeniable growth, DeBary still lacks critically needed schools. The current city comprehension plan states that the city shall coordinate with the school board with the adequate development of future educational facilities upon reviewing approved distribution of population growth and student enrollment. The overcrowding in existing schools is not just a number on a report. It's a daily reality for our children and our parents. The city's comprehension plan outlines admirable goals, sustainable growth, quality of life, and investment in public services, including education. But until you act to bring to DeBary a new school, those goals remain words on a piece of paper. Since the Spring Vista site is currently and was originally consistent with the land use category for proposed public school, let's make the necessary revisions to the plan to build the school on this site. Our plan also states that the city will encourage the sitting of school facilities in neighborhoods to serve as community focal points, and planned schools shall connect to neighborhood pedestrian networks. We cannot claim to support families or invest in our future if we fail to provide adequately the educational facilities for our youth. This is not just a school board issue. It's a city issue, a community issue, a moral issue. It requires leadership, collaboration, and a shared vision of what DeBary can and should be. That vision must include a school that meets the needs of our children today and in the years to come. As our comprehension goal 12.2 states, the city of DeBary will assure the future availability of public school facilities to serve new development consistent with the adaptive level of service standards within the period covered by the 5-year schedule of capital improvement. So tonight, I respectfully remind you, our current comprehension plan is not being fulfilled until this council partners fully with the school board to make a new school in DeBary. Our
Okay.
children deserve nothing less.
Thank you. Okay. Councilmember Sell, questions, comments?
Yeah, a couple omissions I'm sure you just forgot. We have a world-class disc golf course, which wasn't on our, the recreational part, where you were throwing some parks out there. And you missed the cultural facility, the major one, Gateway. It's not on
Yes,
there. I didn't see it on there.
Yes, sir, it is.
Yeah? I didn't see it on there when you listed like DeBary Hall and
Yeah.
stuff.
No problem.
it wasn't on cultural, it was
Yeah.
on parks, but cultural, it should be repeated.
Okay, understand.
Yeah,
And that's all.
okay. Councilmember Papalardo.
It's great seeing the city laid out that way. It makes me think about the septic to sewer again. That's kind of fallen by the wayside because now the county's kind of taking the reins on that. And it puts into perspective just what a great percentage of our geography relies on those types of structures. And it gives me a lot of anxiety about it. So I'm interested in seeing more about that topic.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes, to piggyback off of the septic to sewer and potable water being one of the goals that you kind of stated on there, are we planning to make that a reality of potable water in these areas at the same time that the septic to sewer conversion happens?
And we can discuss that during the goals part of the volume 2.
Okay.
We're looking, we use, like the data we showed tonight, go, okay, there are some gaps. We see the gaps, based on the large geographical area of our septic, so we see some gaps that in our potable water distribution. So now we've identified the gaps or deficiencies, we can direct more goals towards that as voted on and blessed by the council.
Okay. Going back to the transportation aspect, our bikeability and walkability scores were both fairly low. And you'd identified in the packet that the disconnect in sidewalks and also the distance from sidewalks to the roads, 1792, the speed limit. The question is, when FDOT does their repaving this summer, right?
Correct, they're doing a resurfacing.
A resurfacing, is that going to help improve our scores at all with the lowering of the speed limit?
It would improve the score whenever you lower the speed limit and reduce the risk of injury or fatality between cars, pedestrians, and bicycles. Yes, of course, it would bring the score. Is it ultimately the complete street design we would like to see with, which would maximize the safety for bike ped persons? No, but it's the next step in the direction we're trying to get to.
And that's where we have the trees in between the road and the sidewalk.
Correct, and the wider, bringing the bike path off the pavement and onto a separate bike ped path. Utilities underground, it's all part. Like I said, we had, it's kind of in our CIP, which isn't reflected yet, but that is all part of our long-range plan for the city.
And to connect the sidewalk areas where you found the gaps?
Correct. And then we've done sidewalk gap analysis where we need to have new sidewalks, where we need to connect local trails. You saw the local trails map where we're going to connect neighborhoods so they can come join the state facilities or come down to the new Main Street or whatever it may be.
And it kind of crosses over, sorry to interrupt, it kind of crosses over with the school board and having two potential school sites where we don't know what's going to happen yet, and identifying those sidewalk improvements and road improvements to improve pedestrian and bicycle safety for both of those.
Yep.
Also going back to schools, this question might be more for Carmen. The speaker here tonight was asking about the approved development. And every time in our comprehensive plan, every time any council, our council or previous councils approves a development plan, that's not the final answer, correct? We sign off on it and then it goes off to St. John's Water Management and it goes off to the school board and they actually get to sign off on capacity, correct?
Yeah, in any development that occurs, residential development that occurs, the city by law cannot approve that development until the Volusia County School Board guarantees student capacity for that new development for potential new students in that development. They have approved every single residential development that they can guarantee capacity when that development is fully implemented. And so they have guaranteed student capacity for that.
So even though some of these projects haven't been built, like down by the train station and in the TOD area, the school board has already signed off on those.
On the town park project, yes, they already signed off on the town park project guaranteeing that they have the capacity for those particular students.
All right, thank you, that's all my questions.
Vice Mayor Butland.
Thank you, Mayor. A lot of my questions will come up in goals setting. There's one I don't know if it pertains to us as a city. When you talked about the water quality, I know about reclaimed water. Where does that fit in with our comp plan going forward? Bringing more in, less? Where does that fit in? Does that adhere this that we're talking about now?
Yeah, reused water will be part of the comprehensive plan. It's all metric by like gallons per unit or per resident, and they have a metric for it. The county does. Deltona also has their metric for that 60 single-family homes on the east side of 1792. They have their metric where we've shown our plan, our utility plan to the Volusia County utilities also. They've signed off on it, and we're collaborating with them.
Does the reclaimed water come from Volusia? No, it does? Oh, okay. I just thought it was a separate thing.
It is.
Okay, so that was my only question. I just didn't see that anywhere in here, and I wanted to make sure we
Yeah,
didn't
the
miss it.
the treatment facility plant in DeBerry Golf and Country Club, on the backside of DeBerry Golf and Country Club, provides the reclaimed water for the entire city. It also serves, and they call it now the Southwest Regional Treatment Center, and that's going to serve pretty much all of Orange City and DeBerry and parts of Deltona. Will be long-term, will be brought to that particular facility. Their expansion is significant expansion of that treatment facility, and ultimately from that comes the reclaim. And depending on how much volume of reclaimed water that they have is going to determine how far they expand that, citywide.
Do they have to bring new pipes in for that?
They would.
They would, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a project.
I mean, the
Okay.
DeBerry Golf and Country Club has reclaimed water, and I think some parts of Glen Abbey do. So it's not a mandatory
Right.
type of service. But, for example, the reclaimed water, the hydrogen plant, as you recall with Duke, we made
They're gonna do
a
that.
requirement that they use the reclaimed water,
Correct.
which may be cause for a little delay because the county has to get this addition to the reclaim treatment plant done, and so that they can supply the reclaimed water to the Duke hydrogen plant.
Okay. And on the maps that we're looking at, that we looked at today, when will those, I mean, obviously they're changing, because we're doing Main Street, we're doing a lot of development on the south side. When do those maps get changed in here? Or is it just what it is today and then plans for the future in writing
Well, there are several maps that do.
proposed?
I mean, you have here's our 10, 20-year plan. And those maps kind of stay constant, but maps like our future land use map, if there's a future land use change on a property, even if it's a 100 by 150 lot, we change those maps, we update them in a comprehensive plan.
And those will get updated as they go along?
Yeah, some of them are dynamic,
Okay.
and some are static.
Okay.
Yeah, one's goals and one's conditions. So the condition map is dynamic and will be updated.
Okay. That's it for me. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a few observations and maybe a question or so. Starting with the beginning of the presentation and transportation and our level of services on city streets and the adjacent streets as well. I noticed that there is no change between 2035 and 2045, and I would just mention to folks that that reflects our expectation that most of the build-out of DeBerry will be done by 2035. So you don't have, the service level is probably going to remain static because you will not have significant numbers of new residents coming in during that second decade.
Right.
There's some infill lots, but that would be 2 to 5 people here or there, not a large number. I, of course, don't like our level of service. I think it continues to be something we have to keep an eye on, and I commend city staff in their discussions with developers who are working on planned unit developments, insisting on infrastructure improvements as it relates to roads to make our limited roads work even as the new building comes in. Turn lanes that I think are necessary. I just want to say thank you for insisting on that. If it stalls a project, as it has on 2 projects I can think of, turn lanes or road extensions, I'm fine with that. I think it's way more important that we not overwhelm existing infrastructure for people who are already here. And so if it's already sort of maxed out and a new addition is going to cause more stress, more backups, and we can foresee it, then I do encourage staff to push back on those things and appreciate it when you do. Second is, in the forward-looking charts, the walkability improves in the south of the city. Our walkability is best in the south of the city, and that's something that I think this council and staff can take some pride in, because that is the area we are building. And we have made it a priority that there be trails, municipal trails if necessary, to improve the walkability. And that is something that we should take pride in, and it's something we also should continue to push. And I know the city has discussed with FDOT about the work that's coming on 1792. There may be some elements of a road diet coming in that project where the lanes are not quite as wide, and that should improve some of the safety for bikes and for pedestrians on the sidewalk, more distance between the vehicles, and that when you narrow the lanes, the speed does come down, not just the posted limit, but it's a human reaction to a smaller space. If you watch your own behavior on the road, if the road narrows like this, you're not going as fast as when it's this really wide lane like on I-4. And that's leveraging what is true human behavior to reaching some of our other goals. Third, this is just a point on your chart, and it's because I know it so well. Your chart shows that Fort Florida Point and 15th Street and River Drive are on wells. Mercifully, we are not. We have public water, so just change the color down there. That was hard fought, hard won, expensive for every single one of us. But that was a municipal action that I was intimately involved with years before I ever considered running for mayor. And it was completed, and our assessments against each property owner were paid off in full some years back. So that one, just change the color, it'll make me feel good.
Will do.
And then on parks, the 426 acres of parks, which gives us the wonderful ratio of park acres per resident that we have. And I do think that speaks to something that's special about our city. We've always treasured our parks. We have wonderful parks. We maintain them well, and we have way more than the minimum. Does that include the 220 acres for Alexander Island? Does 426 include 220 acres for Alexander Island?
Oh, no.
It does not.
It's not.
Okay, so when we add 220 acres with the development and opening of Alexander Island, 1/3 of the green space parks in the city of DeBary will have been created and happened because of this council and this staff. And I just wanted to make note of that for the record, and to say that's a pretty substantial accomplishment. We will have increased by 50% or be responsible for 1/3 when that project is open to the public. And that's really special in my book. And moving on to schools, there is, as this city council has decided with earlier votes and the quasi-judicial hearing in January, only one site in DeBary that we can see that would be appropriate for 1,400 plus students. And the school system believes a second site would be, and that will make its way through the courts or whatever. But what I wanted to mention is the state legislature has really made a priority of increasing school options throughout the state. And the way they've done this is they've put money to make it happen. We've seen in previous legislative years that they have directed the money that comes per student is now available for students in other settings outside of the public schools. And we also would have other sites, in my opinion, in the city that would be appropriate for schools that aren't 1,400 student schools. And some of these other alternative kinds of schools aren't generally that large, particularly not right out of the gate. In addition, I thought that I would mention this because it's just in a law that was signed this week. In addition to the funds following the student, as was in legislation the last year or two, this This year's legislation signed a few days ago actually lets the half-cent sales tax that goes to VCS, that half-cent sales tax, the proportion per student head will flow to schools like charter schools as well as to VCS. So some of the sales tax revenue that has been flowing directly to VCS as a result of the voter referendum, et cetera, to undergird schools. From what I read about the newly signed bill, it will allow any sales tax like that has been passed to flow per capita also to school systems outside of the public schools. So there's lots of ways that students can have schooling opportunities. And I'm a strong supporter of public schools. I kept my children in public schools growing up because I felt I had children that would be the leaven in the class. They came from a stable family. They were reading from a young age. They had a lot of support. Now, if they reached a point where I needed, for their sake, to have them in another setting, I would have moved them. But I have backed it that way. Individually, I support classrooms throughout the Volusia County schools, particularly schools that have students that come from DeBary. And without going into much detail, I do this quietly. I assign some of my mayor's salary to support these classrooms individually with their individual needs. So I'm a strong supporter of public schools, but I'm also aware that schooling needs can be met many ways, and that the legislature and the governor have really emphasized in recent years the alternative ways to offer schooling opportunities for students. And so DeBary has the opportunity, should an organization choose to want to open a school in DeBary that isn't a super large school, there probably are other properties in school that could accommodate a school, because as the city manager and Mr. Bapp have indicated, we don't really put a lot of barriers up in forms of zoning and limiting where such facilities can be. It's more about the rest of the consistency with the comprehensive plan and the effects on the adjoining neighborhoods, because we are so built out already. It makes it harder to carve out a space that has high volume traffic and pedestrians. So I just thought I would mention that and put that out there. I don't know if this would be a side note or something as you address schools when we get more to policies. But those are my bits of input, and that
Mayor?
I appreciate the presentation. Yes, City Manager?
I just wanted to clarify, the city of DeBary has approved a site for a school,
Correct.
and that is the 48 acres on Buckley.
For a 1,400-plus student school.
Yep. And the school board had come to the city on July the 3rd, and we did approve that location
Right.
for a school. So
Yeah.
it's not like the city has not looked after its kids.
Sure.
We did approve it for the school
Right.
at the 48-acre site.
Right.
So-
I understand that, but I am just saying, education is broader than large public schools. And so we hope to have a large public school, like you say, on the site we approved last year. But there are other ways to help provide educational opportunities for DeBary. And in fact, some of these other ways are getting a lot of support at the state level. And I just wanted to mention that in the discussion, that's all. So is there any further discussion about the workshop this evening? Then we will call the session to a close, and we will have our regular June City Council meeting beginning at 6:30.